Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Friday, September 12th, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The high in Riverside today will reach 81.3 degrees, with a cooler low of 61.1 degrees. Enjoy this beautiful weather as we delve into today's top stories. Coming up, we'll explore what makes Russia's recent drone incursion into Poland so unprecedented, dissecting the geopolitical implications and the international response. We'll also investigate the ongoing battle between Google and California, uncovering the reasons behind the tech giant's resistance to new state privacy laws. Plus, we'll cover the most important headlines from around the globe, bringing you insightful analysis on business, culture, and science. All this and more is coming up on Alex's News. Stay tuned. Good morning, everyone. We begin with a story that has profoundly escalated tensions in Europe. Poland has invoked NATO's Article 4, following an unprecedented incursion of Russian drones deep into its territory this week. Our news reporter Ethan joins us to untangle these critical developments. Ethan, give us the rundown. What precisely happened?
Grace, it's an incredibly serious situation. On the night of September 9th to 10th, at least 19 Russian drones, according to Democracy Now! And Vox, violated Polish airspace. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk declared, "This incident brings the country, quote, the closest we have been to open conflict since World War II." Poland formally invoked NATO Article 4 on September 10th.
Invoking Article 4 is a powerful statement. For our viewers, what does it mean when a NATO member invokes this article? And how deep did these drones actually penetrate?
Article 4, Grace, means a NATO member calls for consultations when its territorial integrity or security is threatened, as explained by Al Jazeera. It's a diplomatic, not military, alert. These drones, a mix of Iranian-designed Shaheds and Russian Gerberas, as Vox reported, penetrated deep. Fragments were found up to 554 kilometers into Polish territory, according to Inquirer.net. This deep incursion, amid a massive Russian attack on western Ukraine, prompted temporary airport closures.
That's quite a penetration, and for the first time, NATO militaries fired shots during the Russian war in Ukraine. What can you tell us about that immediate, active response?
Grace, this is indeed a historic first. Polish F-16s, Dutch F-35s, and Italian AWACS surveillance planes, among other NATO assets, were scrambled. As Sky News and Vox confirmed, they successfully intercepted and shot down at least 3 of the drones. This marks the first instance of NATO aircraft engaging threats in Allied airspace directly since 2022, according to CBC.ca. It's a direct, kinetic response that elevates the air of tension significantly.
A kinetic response certainly raises the stakes. What has been NATO's official stance and its response to Poland's invocation of Article 4?
The North Atlantic Council convened on September 10th, expressing full solidarity with Poland and condemning Russia's reckless behavior, NATO.int reports. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte confirmed successful defense of NATO territory. While not an Article 5 trigger, the alliance committed to strengthening its deterrence. U.S. General Alexis Grinkowicz stated NATO would react quickly and decisively. Strategic adjustments are underway. Germany is extending air policing over Poland until December 31st, 2025. France is deploying Rafale jets, and Poland is deploying 40,000 troops along its borders with Belarus and Russia, as reported by RFERL.org.
So, a strong show of force and solidarity. Russia, predictably, has denied any intentional targeting, while Belarus suggested electronic warfare caused the deviation. Are experts buying these explanations?
Grace, the consensus among experts and Polish officials is a resounding no. Poland unequivocally rejected the EW claim, calling it a, quote, deliberate provocation, as CFR.org notes. Thomas Withington, an electronic warfare expert, told The Independent that it defies imagination. It was accidental given the number of drones. Analysts, like John Hardy, suggest it was a, quote, probe of the Western response, according to Newsweek, citing Russia's, quote, salami-slicing tactics. The timing, just days before the Zapad 25 military drills, also suggests a deliberate provocation, as reported by Vox.
So this was no mere accident. Compared to previous incidents of Russian assets straying into NATO territory, why is Prime Minister Tusk calling this specific incursion unprecedented and incomparably more dangerous?
That's the crux, Grace. While we've seen stray missiles and drone debris before, like the 2022 incident in Przewodów, this incident is different. TVPworld.com and the Washington Post stress its unprecedented nature due to the sheer scale of 19 drones, the depth of penetration, and crucially, the direct engagement by NATO air power shooting down Russian military assets for the first time. This level of direct interaction truly heightens the risk of the Ukraine conflict spilling over. The UN Security Council is meeting today, September 12, 2025, to discuss these accusations.
Ethan, thank you for drilling down into the details of this critical story. We appreciate your insights.
My pleasure, Grace.
When we return, we'll shift our focus to... Welcome back. We turn now to our second story this morning, delving into the digital data battles brewing in the Golden State. It seems some tech giants are trying to put a lock on our privacy, or perhaps unlock new ways around it. For more on Google's extensive efforts to shape California's privacy laws, we go to our reporter Chloe, who has been tracking this bite by bite. Chloe, what's the latest in this ongoing privacy saga?
Grace, it appears Google is making a major bite back against privacy proposals, primarily to keep its digital advertising revenue flowing freely. According to various reports, including those from CalMatters and Ground.News, critics accuse Google of using tactics like, quote, astroturfing, end quote, and, quote, political misinformation, end quote, to protect its business model from stricter data collection rules.
Astroturfing. That sounds like something you do on a football field, not in politics. What exactly does that mean in this context?
It is quite an interesting term, Grace. Astroturfing is when an organization creates a false impression of widespread grassroots support for its agenda, making it seem like a large number of ordinary citizens are independently pushing for a cause when it is actually orchestrated and funded by a central entity. In this case, it is Google, through various lobbying groups, according to reporting by HireaWriter.us.
I see. So this isn't Google's first rodeo when it comes to battling California privacy laws, is it?
Absolutely not, Grace. Google has a history here. Leading up to the California Consumer Privacy Act, or CCPA, becoming law in January 2020, Google, alongside other tech companies, actively tried to water down its provisions. The CCPA, passed in August 2018, gave Californians fundamental rights over their personal data, including the right to know what data companies collect and to request its deletion, as reported by laytimes.com. Google lobbied heavily to create exemptions specifically for digital advertising, the bedrock of its revenue. According to SiliconValleySoftwareLaw.com, Google lobbyists even circulated new language in September 2019, just before the law took effect, to permit continued data collection for targeted advertising, even if users had opted out.
That sounds like they were trying for a last-minute jailbreak.
Precisely, Grace. State Senator Hannah Beth Jackson from Santa Barbara publicly criticized these attempts, labeling them a, quote, jailbreak, end quote, designed to, quote, blow up the entire purpose of the CCPA, end quote, as noted by SearchEngineLand.com. Despite those concerted efforts, the CCPA took effect as planned.
Fast forward to today. What specific legislation are they opposing now?
More recently, Google has been at the center of opposition to California Assembly Bill 566, or AB 566, which aims to further bolster consumer privacy in digital advertising. This bill, according to ConsumerReports.org, mandates that web browsers and mobile operating systems offer a built-in, user-configurable setting, allowing individuals to easily opt out of data collection and sharing with a single action, rather than navigating complex privacy settings.
And what are Google's main arguments against AB 566?
Google, primarily through a lobbying group called the Connected Commerce Council, which is substantially backed by Google, has sent emails to small business owners urging them to oppose the bill. According to CalMatters, Google argues that AB 566 would necessitate, quote, new and untested technology, end quote, that could confuse consumers and force businesses to, quote, waste money showing ads to people who live far away or aren't in the market, end quote, for their products, implying less effective advertising.
It sounds like Google is spending quite a bit to prevent this bill from becoming law.
Indeed, Grace. Google's lobbying expenditures directed at state lawmakers concerning AB 566 and related legislation this year have been reported at nearly $700,000, including payments to the California Chamber of Commerce, according to bgov.com.
That is a significant investment. Where does AB 566 stand now?
As of today, September 12, 2025, AB 566 has successfully passed both the California Assembly and Senate and is now awaiting Governor Gavin Newsom's signature. Should it be signed into law, it is slated to take effect on January 1, 2027. That is approximately 476 days from now. Consumer and privacy advocacy groups, including Consumer Reports and the California Privacy Protection Agency, or CPPA, strongly support the bill, arguing it is crucial for empowering Californians to exercise their privacy rights more easily, as martech.org has reported.
Google's claim about, quote, new and untested technology, end quote, seems to be a key sticking point. Is that entirely accurate?
That is where the Global Privacy Control, or GPC, comes in, Grace. GPC is a proposed technical specification designed to enable Internet users to signal their privacy preferences to websites with a single click, specifically their desire to opt out of the sale or sharing of personal information. It is essentially a universal, quote, do not sell, end quote, signal, as explained by globalprivacycontrol.org.
So, this GPC is not new?
Not at all, Grace. Introduced in April 2020, GPC has been natively adopted by privacy-focused browsers like Mozilla Firefox, Brave, and DuckDuckGo, and millions of users have enabled it. Crucially, GPC has gained legal recognition from privacy regulators in California, Colorado, Connecticut, and New Jersey. The California Attorney General's office has explicitly clarified that GPC constitutes a valid opt-out method under existing California privacy laws, according to ca.gov. This directly challenges Google's claim that AB 566 mandates, quote, new and untested technology, end quote.
If GPC is so established and recognized, why doesn't Google Chrome, the most popular browser, support it natively?
That is the million-dollar question, Grace. Chrome, along with Microsoft Edge and Apple Safari, does not natively integrate the GPC signal. Users have to install third-party extensions. This lack of default support, according to chromeprivacy.org, means a vast majority of Internet users lack easy access to this universal opt-out signal. It is worth noting that Google is developing its own alternative, called the Privacy Sandbox.
Ah, the Privacy Sandbox. What exactly is that, and how does it compare to GPC?
The Privacy Sandbox is Google's comprehensive initiative to enhance user privacy on the web by providing alternatives to third-party cookies, implementing new, privacy-focused technologies directly within Chrome, according to privacysandbox.com. It aims to maintain advertising functionality while significantly reducing cross-site tracking. Features like the Topics API and Protected Audience API are designed to share aggregated user information rather than granular individual data.
So it sounds like GPC offers a universal switch, while the Privacy Sandbox is trying to re-engineer the entire ad ecosystem from within Chrome.
Exactly, Grace. GPC empowers users with a direct, explicit opt-out signal that websites are legally mandated to respect in certain jurisdictions. The Privacy Sandbox, conversely, aims to implement privacy by design through new technical standards within Google's own framework. Initial testing of Privacy Sandbox, as reported by MonetizeMore.com, suggests potential challenges for digital advertising revenue, with studies showing publisher revenue could decline by approximately 30%, and Google's own tests observed up to an 18% impact for AdSense. Google expects performance to improve, but this shows the delicate balance they are trying to strike.
It seems Google is trying to protect its ad revenue with its own recipe, rather than using someone else's. Thank you, Chloe, for bringing us up to speed on this intricate data drama.
My pleasure, Grace.
Here are some other headlines. First, to Wall Street, where a major disconnect is playing out. Stock markets are surging to record highs, seemingly defying gravity and a host of troubling economic signs. The S&P 500 and the Dow are soaring, even as data shows a slowdown in job growth and jobless claims hitting a 4-year high. So why is Wall Street celebrating what looks like bad news for Main Street? Investors are operating on a bad news is good news mentality, betting that a cooling economy will force the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. This anticipation of cheaper money, combined with strong corporate earnings, particularly in the AI sector, has investors looking past the current economic softness toward a potential soft landing. However, some analysts warn this optimism may be premature, questioning how long Wall Street can ignore the high cost of living still affecting many American households. Meanwhile, a landmark verdict in Brazil, where former President Jair Bolsonaro has been sentenced to 27 years in prison. A Supreme Court panel found him guilty of leading a criminal organization and attempting to stage a coup to overturn his 2022 election loss. Prosecutors presented evidence of a wide-ranging plot that included spreading misinformation about the voting system and planning to use the military to prevent the transition of power. The court ruled that the January 8 storming of government buildings by his supporters was the culmination of this effort. Bolsonaro, who is under house arrest, has called the trial a witch hunt and plans to appeal. The verdict drew a reaction from President Donald Trump, who called the conviction very bad for Brazil. Back here in the U.S., a capital debate is underway in Washington, D.C. National Guard troops will remain in the city until at least November, even after a 30-day federal emergency declaration has expired. The White House is touting the mission as a major success, pointing to a 39% drop in violent crime, over 100 arrests, and a dramatic 87% reduction in carjackings during the surge. But the continued military presence is drawing legal challenges. D.C.'s Attorney General has filed a lawsuit, calling the deployment an overreach of presidential power. Some residents have welcomed the security, while others have described it as an unsettling military occupation that fails to address the root causes of crime. And in Houston, a proposal from Elon Musk's Boring Company is failing to hold water with some experts. Musk is pushing for a $760 million project to build 2 12-foot diameter tunnels to divert floodwater. After news reports questioned the plan's effectiveness, Musk took to social media to insist his tunnels will work and are cheaper than alternatives. However, flood control experts are digging in, calling his comments misleading. They argue that much larger, 40-foot tunnels are needed to handle a major storm, and that Musk's smaller tunnels would provide less than 1/5 of the capacity. As one expert put it, "You've got to look at how much flood mitigation you get for the dollars you spend." Finally, a bill with a big name is making big changes to agricultural policy. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, signed into law on July 4th, allocates $66 billion to the farm sector. The law boosts farm safety nets by increasing reference prices for crops like corn and wheat and extends benefits for new farmers. However, the bill is sowing the seeds of controversy. It redirects some conservation funds that were part of the Inflation Reduction Act and includes cuts to the SNAP nutrition program. These changes have disrupted the traditionally bipartisan support for farm bills, signaling a potential shift in how Washington handles agricultural policy. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 4.0, Gemini Pro 2.5, Gemini Flash 2.5, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.